National Professional Teachers Organisation of South Africa is among the many organisations that have extended their condolences to people affected by the devastating flooding in KwaZulu-Natal. Nearly 60 pupils and education staff are among the dead so far. Now, the death toll in KwaZulu-Natal currently stands at 448, but there are still reports that dozens of people remain missing. Nearly 300,000 pupils are affected overall by this disaster. Naptosa has now launched an initiative to help as far as relief efforts in KwaZulu-Natal are concerned. Let's speak to Executive Director Basil Manuel. Mr. Manuel, always good to speak to you. I'll get to your efforts to help as far as relief is concerned, but I was looking at what you put out earlier in a statement where you were saying you're not too confident in the ability of provincial authorities to deal with the school infrastructure damage in particular. Why are you so skeptical?
Good afternoon and thanks for having me. Yes, we're skeptical because, of course, this disaster, and it's a terrible one, and rightfully so, we need to sympathize with all those affected. But we are sitting with a compounded effect. We had damaging storms in December. We had the unrest in July, and some of those schools still haven't been fixed. So on top of that, we add the new burden. And we are worried. We are really worried because it is impacting not only on schooling per se, but on the dignity of our learners. And of course, when infrastructure starts disintegrating, it just gets worse and worse with every passing day.
And just how bad is the infrastructure in KZN at schools outside of damage caused by floods? Because through her own admission, the Basic Education Minister said when she was in KZN that what the floods have done in the province is they've already added to the problems for a sector that has long-standing infrastructure issues.
That's exactly the point. There are historical infrastructure issues where there are still badly built schools, and we've had that for a long time. But even the well-built schools that have been damaged have remained damaged. Those that have been damaged by these miscreants that keep on breaking into schools, and of course with the unrest, and then with regular storms. KZN has been buffeted by regular storms over many years. And if we don't attend to those, we just simply compound the problem. So when we talk about damaged schools with the floods, and we talk about 300 to 400, you add another 300 to 400 where not enough has been done. Places like Pietermaritzburg and Ladysmith, etc., are all saying, yes, the focus has now shifted, and rightfully so. But what about us? What about our dignity? And that is what our cry is about.
So you've got over 600, in fact 630 is the official number of schools affected somehow, 100 plus severely damaged, right? Some of the pupils who need to go there will now be redirected to other facilities, hopefully nearby. Is that going to be enough, do you think, to accommodate the full volume of pupils who will need to be taken to some kind of school in order to avoid missing out on more education time?
It's a plan. It's not a perfect plan, and we've got to allow for certain things that are not perfect to be done. Because we must remember there's a transport problem because a lot of places have become inaccessible. Moving those learners to another school, whilst it's a solution in itself, does become difficult because they've got to access transport. These very learners, many of them don't have accommodation of their own, which is a further complication. Schools may already be full, and so they are going to be overcrowded. So it's a stopgap measure. What we've got to do as a matter of urgency is actually supply mobile classes, identify areas where we can put up some, shift more people in there, and that is a huge task. And certainly Naptosa hopes that with the arrival of the army, we are going to see more of this happening, and we hope that that is what they are coming to do in the province as well.
You're also rolling up your sleeves to assist as far as the relief effort in KwaZulu-Natal. I know you've encouraged your members to contribute about 50 Rand each as some sort of financial aid for the people in the province. Tell us about that.
We thought we'd target a relatively low figure that most people can afford. And we are saying, with 70,000 members, if everybody just gave 50 Rand, imagine the difference it could make. And I know about the skepticism out there. And we too, it's a tragedy that we are not sending this money to government. But we've decided to send it to to the gift of the givers that people trust. And I don't want to get into that debate. But our schools have also already dug in. Remember, whilst there are about 600-700 schools that are not fully functional yet, there are almost 6,000 or 7,000 schools in KZN functional. And those schools are digging in, sending us books, sending us textbooks and writing books. And this is the great need, because records have been destroyed, books are gone. Nobody thinks about grabbing a school bag when your house, when your mother, your sister are being swept away. So these kids have a lot of issues that they have to deal with, not to talk about the trauma that we are trying to address. We want to make an appeal to people in the industry of dealing with trauma and hurt and loss to also come forward, because our teachers themselves need that help to assist those pupils that are coming to them that have lost everything, including family members.
And we've already spoken in previous years about how teachers, on top of just educating, have also sort of become social workers, right? Kids come in from their homes with various issues. Now you've got classrooms full of children dealing with some kind of trauma, a lot of PTSD, I would expect as well, having witnessed family members being killed in the floods. Some of their classmates are not going to return, sadly, because they too are among the people who've passed. Are we looking at a program perhaps to say upskill teachers and allow them the sort of skills that would allow them to be able to respond in the immediate term if a psychologist is not nearby?
Let me put it this way. Teachers have skills already, not fully. We want to see them have more. But that is also a longer-term issue. We are sitting with the children in our classes now, and we are asking our teachers to respond in the best manner they can. But if we can get more help in, then that would be the ideal. But in the long term, we've got to see that our teachers have even more skills, because we are dealing with trauma all the time. Yesterday, it was violence and unrest. Today, it's the loss of life where people saw children were trying to save family members. Can you imagine the feeling of loss that they have? And then, of course, to get to school to find out that my classmate is no longer there. So it is a huge task. But I also want to acknowledge that we are part of the FEDUSA family, and even the unions within FEDUSA have been doing that. MISA has also, the Motor Industry Federation, has also done a lot in terms of assisting. And we are calling on the bigger family of unions. I know our fellow teacher unions are also doing, but to come together to see that we can help teachers as a whole.
Basil Manuel, always good to chat to you. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. You keep well. Thank you. Bye.